Nadav Rosenberg.
Thank you. Does it work? Can you hear me well?
Yep.
I'm very excited to be here. I'll tell you why. I love money. And don't take me the wrong way. It doesn't mean that I love money in the sense of accumulating money. I don't mind to be a millionaire. But almost 10 years ago, I was sitting on a beach in Colombia. It's called Playa Blanca, the white beach in Colombia. And I met an Australian dude. And this guy he had long hair, he had a lot of tattoos. And I was sitting there enjoying myself in a hammock. And we started to chat. And the guy told me that he started to complain. People always complain when you meet them when you travel. And he told me that it's very hard these days to travel as an Australian because the Australian dollar is weak. And I didn't understand what does he mean. What do you mean by the Australian dollar is weak? Why does it affect your ability to travel? I mean, if it's weak, maybe you earn more dollars. I don't know, it kind of confused me. And I dropped this Australian guy and started to think to myself, okay, what is money? What is currency? How does it affect us? Yes, with pleasure. Can we maybe take the microphone up or something? Or I just need to speak louder? It's okay? Just to shout? Do I need to shout? Do I need to tell this whole story about this Australian guy again? No, it's okay. You got it. Okay, fine. I think that we all use money, we all use currency, but it's very confusing. We don't really know what it is. And I think that what I will try to show in this presentation, this little lecture, is talk a little bit about what is money conceptually, what is Bitcoin, what is currency, and I will try to show, I'll try to claim that Bitcoin is actually the most amazing or the perfect currency ever invented. And maybe it's something that will, can or may, or I think that will change the world. So let's, before we even go there, maybe we'll speak a little bit about what is Bitcoin. And then we're going to jump into what is money, what is currency, understanding how does Bitcoin fit into this framework, and then a little bit about how does it change the world, how does it change the economy, etc. So Bitcoin is two things. Okay, so it's not one thing, it's actually more than two things, but if you want to think about Bitcoin, think about two things. It's both a protocol and it's a currency. Okay, it's not just one thing, it's a protocol, it's a currency. And if you think about a protocol, try to think about the internet. Okay, so the Bitcoin is a network, is an infrastructure, it's a technology. It's something like the internet that you can build a lot of application on it. Okay, so one thing it's infrastructure, you can do a lot of stuff, and the other thing is currency. Okay, so the currency sits on the Bitcoin protocol, the same way that email uses the internet to communicate between people. There are other applications. Maybe Hakim will talk about it. Maybe we're going to talk about it later. But it's not only currency. Currency is one of the applications. Okay. By the way, now it's okay. You can hear me. I need to shout louder. All good. Okay. I was worried. So Bitcoin is two things. It's a protocol. It's a currency. And just let's talk a little bit, just to understand what it is. So it's going to help us later on to explore it. Just on a nutshell, what is Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is a public ledger. What does it mean? When you pay something to somebody, you almost announce it to the entire community to say to everybody, I paid somebody. I mean, we use always those two little characters, Alice and Bob. These are the cryptographic characters. If you're going to learn more about Bitcoin, you're going to meet them more. And in the Bitcoin community, when Alice pays Bob or Bob pays Alice, everybody knows. And you see here, there is like a little ledger. It's very hard, I think, to see on this presentation, but these are the blockchains. And every 10 minutes, all the transaction in the universe of the Bitcoin is being approved, being blocked, being chained. And this is almost a ledger of what happened in the entire universe of the Bitcoin ecosystem. And that's how it works. I'm not going to go deep into it. I mean, if you want to learn more, it's not the scope of this presentation, but this kind of, just in a nutshell. So users, ledger, network, Bitcoin. Super public. I mean, you can always make a connection between how much money each private key has. So you don't necessarily, it's like a bank account, right? I mean, you can look, it's almost like a transparent boxes that everybody can see what's inside, but you don't know who owns which box. So it's completely transparent. Everybody knows exactly what's happening in this universe. Super, super transparent. Oops, sorry. So that was just in a nutshell on the Bitcoin. And now let's talk about money. Let's give you 3 examples, and then we're going to take it from there. So what happened when I pay, or you pay me, 20 pounds in cash? Okay? Somebody in the audience, what's your name? Carl. So Carl, do you want paying me 20 pounds? No, don't pay. Okay, great, you give me. So Carl gave me something which is physical, okay? He gave me 20 pounds. It's physical. It's something physical of limited supply. And I know that I hold it. Okay, it's very obvious to me that I own it now and Carl doesn't own it. Correct? And this is cash. Okay, he gave me 20 quid, I have it, Carl doesn't have it. Very simple. But what happened when I use digital money? If Carl again would like to pay me 20 quid but using a bank, then we need a third party, right? Carl is paying me 20 quid, okay? But he doesn't pay it directly to me. There is a third party, there is a bank that's making sure that this abstract thing is owned by me and doesn't owned by Carl anymore. Okay? So this is the big difference. Cash, it's very easy. I can see it, it's mine, I own it. Carl doesn't own it. If it's digital money, it's more complicated. We have a third party, we're relying upon it. This is a bank, and the bank making sure that on their ledger, Nadav, it's me, has 20 quid, and Carl doesn't have anything. So we need a third party. So the big innovation in Bitcoin, if you think about it on this little framework, is that when I take 20 Bitcoins or 20 BTC from Carl, then it's something abstract. Okay, so again, it's nothing physical. I don't really get anything from you, but I don't need a third party to confirm it. Okay? Everybody know, to your question, everybody know that now Nadav, or Nadav's number in the Bitcoin system, has the 20 Bitcoins, and Carl doesn't have it. Okay, so these are the three things. We're moving from physical to abstract. We stay in abstract, but instead of seeing that something has passed, we're using a third party, and now everybody know everything. So I don't know if you start to kind of listen or see a little bit that there is some kind of a progression, there is some kind of development, and that was just the kind of the abstract or the beginning before you're going to jump into what is money. Okay, that was just of Bitcoin, so we can later use it in the framework. So what is money? You know what? I don't know if you saw it or not, but anybody want to try to define what is money? Anybody has the courage to stay and say what is money? Please.
Representation of value.
Representation of value. Representation of value, means of exchange. Store of value, means of exchange, representation of value. What else?
Confidence.
Confidence.
It's all printed on worthless paper if there ain't no confidence in it.
Money is the confidence. Okay. We had already, we had 4 or 5 people and they all say different things. What does it mean? It means that probably we all don't know. Maybe I don't know. So the fact that we don't have, okay, another try?
Money is debt.
Money is debt. Okay. Money is debt. No, a what?
Energy.
Money is energy. It's, I think that we all have our own conception of what is money. And the fact that we have different description, different definition of what is money means it's very confusing. It's very hard to grasp. And I think that if we agree that it's very hard to grasp, let me offer you something which I believe will help us understand what's the difference between money and currency. So money is just a concept. Okay? Money, it's nothing you can really touch. Somebody said that money is a store of value. You said that money is a store of value. Let's say that you're sitting on an island on your own. And you have a coconut, and you want to keep it, okay? The coconut is valuable. Do you think you can store it into the money?
Can I store it in money?
Yeah, you just said that money is a store of value.
Well, if I'm on my own on an island, I've got a coconut. No,
Okay, it means that maybe money is not a store of value, no?
not always.
Not always. Oh, interesting. So not always a store of money.
Not in that situation.
So money is actually a concept, okay? Money is just a concept. It's a social concept. Because if you're on your own, money is meaningless. You don't need money. You need money only if you have more than one person with you. If you're sitting on an island on your own, you don't need money. If you are 2 people on an island, you can use money. If you're 1 million people on an island, you have to have money. Otherwise, it will be very hard to make commerce. And this concept is enabling the transfer of purchasing power multiple times, right? I can own a purchasing power. I can have the power to get goods and services. I can pass it on to Carl. And then Carl can take it and pass it on to Malcolm.
Yeah.
So we can pass on the purchasing power. So money is the concept of the ability to transfer purchasing power between individuals, between entities. It's very abstract and it's social. So you have to have people involved, or you cannot have money on its own. It's meaningless. You don't have money on the moon. If there are no people, there is no money. It's just a concept. It's a concept and it's a purchasing power representation. Okay? It's represent, or the ability to transfer purchasing power. Now, this concept has features, okay? Money is not a store of value, and money is not medium of exchange. Money is a concept, but once you start to use this concept, and this is the big innovation, that's what drives a lot of the progress of the human beings from being almost in hunters and gatherers and working together, is the ability to use those features, the ability to use the unit of account. How can you compare a car to a house. How can you compare a car to a house? It doesn't really work, right? So you need unit of account, you need the number, you need the denomination. And this is money, the ability to use a common denomination to compare prices, maybe to compare values. So but it's just a feature. And then you use it as a medium of exchange, right? You cannot really compare, or you cannot really change ship with a car. You need something to help you to do so, right? So you exchange the ship into money or currency, we're going to talk about it in a minute, and then the currency into the car. It's a store of value in the sense that you can take your purchasing power and pass it on to your children, to your friends, you can keep it, and this is the sense of store of value. This is a concept that you don't have to use things now. You can work, you can accumulate food, you can accumulate bread, you can accumulate things that you don't need, keep them, maybe pass it on to somebody else. And this is a little bit the feature of money, but it's not money itself, and it's a big accounting system. We can have our own money in this room, and we can divide the purchasing power, what each of us has, what each of us own. Money is like language. Have you ever thought about that? What is language? What is actually a language? It's a social concept. Okay? It's a concept that enables us to transfer messages. I don't need language in order to give you a message. I can go from this stage, I can go to Paul, I can push him out of the room. I don't need language, right? I can just do it. So I communicate something, I can push him out of the room, but I don't need to use language. So what's so innovative about language? Why it's so cool? Because I can tell Paul, please leave the room, please don't. But I can tell him to leave the room, and he can use this message and pass it on to Carl. He can tell you then to leave the room. Did you think about it? It's amazing. I can pass a message, and he can pass it on again. So money to commerce, it's like language to communication. It's a concept that enables a mass building of something, right? With money, we can do commerce large scale. With language, we can do communication in large scale. Language gives us the features. It's just a feature of thinking, the feature of transfer of knowledge. I can pass on knowledge to my kids. They can pass it on to my grandkids, etc. Mass communication, large-scale corporations. So this is money. Money is just a concept. So let's put it aside. Yes, it's a yapstone. It's the yapstone. I'm going to tell you a story about the yapstone in just a minute, but this is a yapstone. And on the left, anybody recognize this bird?
Hummingbird?
Bird of paradise.
Paradise.
The quetzal. Have you heard about the quetzal? Any Latin American here? Any Latin American? So this is a Guatemalan bird, and people in Guatemala used to use the feathers of the quetzal because it's very rare as currency. Okay. So this is and the yapstone. It's a very interesting currency. I'm going to tell you about it in just a minute. So money is a concept. Currency is a tool, and currency is very similar to idiom, right? In order to execute the concept of language, I need something. What is this something? It's an idiom. If I want to tell Paul to stay in the room, I need to use an idiom. I need to use English. I can say it in Japanese. If I want to communicate between computers, right? Language, computer language, what it is, it's a concept. The two computers can communicate, so I need a tool. The tool is C++. Just to give you an example, I'm not going to go over this whole table, but just to give you this notion, this instinct of what are the different currencies, what are the different idioms. You can think about it on your own. I mean, we're not going to cover it all now, but types of currencies. You can think about commodity currency, salt, shells, gold. These are all currencies. You can think about fiat. Have you ever heard the term fiat currency? What is fiat currency? Anyone want to try?
As what I said as a concept, it's government, it's printed on, it's usually backed by nothing. It used to be backed by gold, is now just, it's Excellent. Fiat currency, it's not fiat money, it's fiat currency. It's a concept that is decided by the government. The government tells you have to use these symbols, because we said that currency is actually a set of symbols. The government just saying to you, this set of symbols represent purchasing power. That's what's happening now in the UK. That's what's happening now in the US. This is fiat money. It's fiat by it's money or currency by the government. It doesn't back by anything. It doesn't have anything to do with gold. Dollar is an example, yen is an example, pound is an example, cryptocurrencies, we're just talking about it now, Bitcoin, Litecoin. And then you have the payment. So how do we actually pass on one symbol from one to another? So if Carl wants to pass a symbol from me, you can either do it physically, you can take the raw material, right? If you're going to use gold, you can just give me the gold. Or you can do it digitally, or you can do it with other means. So this is kind of the payment. If you want to kind of keep the language money thing, so if you can think about money as a concept and language as a concept, then you can think about payment. It's like the way you deliver the message, right? I can deliver it verbally, I can speak. This is one way of payment, so to speak. I can give you and write you a message. It's another way to deliver the message. I can use maybe signs. Okay, it's another type of delivery, and this is kind of how it works.
So money is a concept, and currency is a tool. And I'm sure that I maybe confused you a little bit, but I'll try to give you an example that looks very strange, but after you're going to think about it, I'm going to show you how very primitive people did a transaction using the concept of money and a currency tool, which is called the Ray stone. It's a stone from the island of Yap. So I've never been there. I don't know if any of you have been there. But in Micronesia, which is a big group of islands just by Australia, there is one island. It's called the Yap Island. And there was a German adventurer that 100 years ago, at the beginning of the last century, went to travel there. He arrived there, and he saw that the locals are using a concept of money. Right? They were trading it with each other, using a currency, very strange currency, those huge stones. And this is the same picture from the slide before. The guys on Yap, they understood the concept of money, so they understood the fact that they can actually transfer purchasing power from one to another, and their currency was the Yap stones, the Ray big Yap stones. If you want to see one, you can go to the British Museum. Just in the middle of London, you can go. There is an exhibition there about money, and you can see one of those stones. On the island, they had huge stones, right? 3 meters, 4 meters. Here in the British Museum, it's very small. But the idea was that the larger the stone, the more purchasing power you have. So a wealthy family would have on their garden a huge Yap stone. And this is currency, right? I mean, they use the currency. Let's think about transaction. So I'm a very rich family. I have a huge Yap stone in my garden. I want to buy a ship. Or I want to buy a little boat. So I go to the fisherman, I tell the fisherman, look, I want your boat, and he wants me to pay him with currency. So what do? I start to negotiate. I'm telling him, look, I have this huge stone. I'm going to give you some of this stone. You're going to give me the boat. So he tells me, I want half of your stone. What are you going to say? Do you agree? Do you want to give him half of your stone for the boat?
I'll give him an 8.
Excellent. So negotiation. No, I'm going to give you just an eighth, and you're going to say no. I'm going to get more, and then we're going to agree that he's going to give you quarter of the stone. So you're going to give him quarter of the stone. He's going to give you the boat, and there is a transaction. But nothing going to happen, right? It's just a symbol. Everyone knows. It's almost like an open ledger. I mean, this Yap stone is almost like the Bitcoin. Everybody knows that the fisherman owns quarter of the stone of this wealthy family, and that was a very, very primitive currency, and that's how they trade there. So it's quite fascinating in my opinion. They didn't need to trade it. They just knew that the fisherman owns quarter of the stone on the island of Yap. So these guys, concept of money, the tool, it's the stone, and we have a transaction.
One stone.
What do you mean one stone? No. They had many stones.
Okay.
The wealthy family, if they want to inflate the economy, there was another island with a big quarry. Then when they minted those stones, so it's almost like printing money, quantitative easing, right? They went to the island, they printed a big stone, and now they have more purchasing power. It happened 100 years ago. It's the same thing.
They all got stoned, didn't they? They all got stoned, yeah.
They got completely stoned. Yeah. I'm joking. No, they all got stones there, and it's not just one. It's many stones. You can read about it. There are a lot of interesting stories about this island, but this is currency. People like stories. I also like stories. So if you go to the internet, you're going to see all these stories of how money was developed. Somebody invented it, but it never happened like that, right? It's like language. It was developed in many different things and many different parts of the world. Nobody thought, nobody sat and said, okay, I'm going to think about the concept of money. I'm going to invent currency. It didn't happen. Then that's why it's so hard to understand it, because it's just intuitively, as humans, we use this thing. If you're still with me, and it's not easy. It's not easy to keep on this concept. But I would like to try to prove you that Bitcoin is a very, very powerful currency. Maybe the most powerful currency that was ever invented. I think this is very important because I'm going to offer you a framework. You're going to judge yourselves, and if you're going to decide that maybe it's true, maybe you will decide to invest in Bitcoin. That's going to be maybe very, very powerful. So what do you need? What do you need for a set of symbols to be a powerful currency?
Easily transferable.
Is it transferable? Did you look at my slide or you thought about it? Good stuff. Can you see the slide or it's too small? Perfect. So what's your name? Follower. Follow. Nice to meet you, Follow. So Follow talked about transferability. It's easy to transfer for item. If you have a symbol you want to transfer from one another, this is one characteristic. So I'm going to take you into the 5. There are 5 characteristics here. By the way, it's going to be available, the presentation. So if you want it, you can take it from online. First of all, it has to be a limited amount of symbols, right? Imagine that you're living on this Yap island, and you have this huge stone, and somebody comes with a lot of other stones, so they're almost stealing your purchasing power, okay? So it has to be limited. Currency has to be limited, otherwise other people can take your purchasing power. Can you think about an example in which your purchasing power has been taken by other entities?
Quantitative easing.
Very good. So it's actually happening now. We think that we're using a very, very advanced currency, but the government, the central bank, are printing and they do quantitative easing. In essence, they're bringing more symbols into the economy, and then they're taking off your purchasing power. But yeah, how do we do with time? Okay, I'll try to speed it up. So it's a limited amount of symbols. It's very important. They have to be interchangeable, so it's going to be easy to trade. So this is the second requirement. It has to be durable. If you have purchasing power, if you have currency, you want to be able to inherit it to your kids. You don't want it to be ruined by, I don't know, by the sun or by the rain or anything like that. So it has to be durable. It has to be divisible, right? It's very hard. I mean, the Yap, you wanted to divide it into just an eighth of a stone, but imagine that you want to buy a razor. I mean, you're not going to divide the huge stone into very, very small parts. So you want something that will be divisible, so it's easy to use. So the perfect currency should be limited supply. It should be fungible, so one part of the currency equal to the other part of the currency. It has to be durable, okay, so because it's stable. It has to be divisible, so we can trade small things. And it has to be transferable. So this is going to be the perfect currency.
Security.
What do you mean by security?
So, the problem with Bitcoin at the moment is quite easy for it to disappear, to be robbed.
Tell me more about it. What do you mean by that? The question was, what about security? This currency has to be secure. What do you mean by that?
If you've got £10 million and I want to go and rob you now,
Yeah.
I need a gun, I need a big truck, whatever. With Bitcoins,
But what does it mean that I have 10 million pounds? What does it mean?
you have that value. You have
Where?
You have that number of credits on your account.
Okay, so we're getting this. So we're using the symbols, which called credit in my account. So you have a bank that protects you from that.
Yeah.
How does the bank protect you? Do you know?
With huge amount of resource, I don't know.
They do it with RSA. They do it with encryption. So they use a lot of servers and they do it with encryption. It's the same technology that we use it with Bitcoin. The only difference is that in the bank, you pay the money to save it through. I think that Hakim is going to talk about just in a little while about the difference between banks. But with Bitcoin, it's the same technology, so we're well protected, but you don't need anyone. Okay? 50 years ago, if you wanted to make a phone call, you would call to a central place that will pass the telephone from me to the central place to you. But with internet, you don't need it. I'm just going to send you an email, right? So it's the same thing. So it's just a symbol.
It's not really the same thing.
The what?
You cannot just lose your bank account. You can lose your Bitcoin wallet, can't you?
Of course.
You can't lose your bank account.
You can always burn money.
You can take.
Yes, indeed, I'm not comparing.
No. But it's a very good point. So what's your name?
Matteo.
Matteo said that you cannot lose your money in. No, but you know what's going to happen? You can go to Cyprus and ask him what happened. They didn't lose. So the question, what do you prefer? Do you want to let the cat to kind of safeguard the milk? It's true.
Yes, I'm just saying there is a whole system that protects bank accounts.
Absolutely.
Because it's standard.
Absolutely. And I think that for every currency, you have an ecosystem around this currency. We are living in a world in which we have fiat currency, and we have a lot of institutions around the fiat currency. Institutions help you to protect it. They lend you money, give you credit. The same thing could happen with Bitcoin. It's just going to be a different type of currency, and I think it's going to be the perfect currency. But it's the same thing.
Durability.
The what?
Durability. I mean, it's very volatile now, and everybody's saying that it's gonna stabilize.
Okay.
Everybody said that.
So you said it's very volatile, therefore it's not durable. Volatility is a product of price. It has nothing to do with durability. The Yap stone,
Yeah, no, I see what you mean.
we had a negotiation, right? He told me that he wanted to give me an eighth of a stone. I wanted to take half of his stone. This is price.
But that because 1/8 of the stone today is
Yeah.
gonna be the same value of 1/8 of the stone tomorrow. It's not gonna be. the
Okay, but
16th
this
of
is
the stone
price.
tomorrow.
But this is price.
Sure.
But the stone itself is still durable, right? It's still on the island.
Okay, durability.
So this is durability. We're just talking about the symbols, just talking about the technology. So if you think and you want to compare, if you think about the ray stone, the stone from the island Yap, it's not really limited, right? Because you can go and you can print it in another island, so it's not that limited. It's not really fungible because people can say this stone is good, the other stone is bad, etc. It's quite durable, Okay, it's a stone. It's quite durable. It's not very divisible. We were trying to do negotiation. We stopped probably in an eighth. And it's not very transferable. It's very, very big and it's very, very heavy. If you think about gold, it's much better, right? It's limited. It's harder to take gold. It's fungible. Every piece of gold is really equal to a different piece of gold. It's very durable. It's not very divisible. I mean, you cannot take just gold and buy a piece of rice, right? I mean, you're not going to cut the gold into such a small piece.
Now,
Of course that you can, but is it
There's a valorum now.
a what?
A valorum.
What is valorum?
It's a new note
Yeah.
which is impregnated with a very small amount of gold.
Yeah.
And it's $5 worth of gold measured in each.
Can you compare it to divide the 1 Bitcoin to 100 million parts? Okay, so I'm just saying that it's not perfect. It's good. You can divide it.
It's got better.
It's got better. It's got better.
than half.
It's got better than half. We can negotiate. It's all about negotiation. I agree. It's just a it's just simplification and representation. I'm not claiming to be completely accurate. But if you think about the dollar is not limited. And I want you to sit in this room, and some of you already probably thought about it. Some of you maybe didn't think about it. But the dollar is not limited. The pound is not limited. People can print it. People can fake it. It's very fungible because $1 equals to another. How are you? Just let me know when I have 2 minutes, so we're going to wrap up. Okay, with pleasure. It's very durable because the dollar and the pound just sitting on computer bytes on servers, so you can keep them. It's not a problem. It's not going to disappear. It's quite divisible, the dollar, because you can cut it into cents. And in terms of transferability, what do you think about the pound? Is it transferable or it's not transferable? Do you have any view on that? Anyone? The pound, the fiat money, is it transferable? It's not transferable?
Transfer, you could transfer it into other currencies.
With what?
With friction.
With friction.
Transfer.
Okay. What kind of friction?
Confidence.
Payment systems. Perfect.
Not very international. It's hard to pay.
Amazing. I don't know if you heard, but we heard that the dollar and the pound, there is friction, the payment system, and it's not very international. You cannot really easily pay pound from one place to another. Why? Because you have a third party. And it's not that easy to transfer it because the bank can tell you, hey, why do you want to transfer $10 million from the UK to England? So you don't really control the transferability of this currency. And if you think about Bitcoin, and again, I didn't even say what Bitcoin is enough. I didn't talk about the technology. But Bitcoin is limited in number. There are only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever be produced. I'm sure that people already lost Bitcoins. I lost Bitcoins, so we have less than 21 million, so it's limited. We'll never have more than 21 Bitcoins. In terms of fungibility, it's perfect. Every part of the Bitcoin, one Bitcoin equals to another. No problem there. In terms of durability, it's exactly like fiat money. It sits on computers as long as the network exists. You have your currency. It's actually better than fiat currency because you don't have one central server farm. You cannot come with a big atomic bomb and destroy the Bitcoin network. In terms of divisibility, this is almost philosophical. I don't know if you know, but Bitcoin, it's not really a coin. It's a continuous set of symbols. You can have 8.7 coin. You can have 6.2.3 coin. So you can actually divide a Bitcoin into any number, any measure that you want. So it's almost perfect. Yes?
Almost. Isn't there isn't one Satoshi the smallest amount of Bitcoin you can transfer?
So the question was, isn't 1 Satoshi is the smallest amount? It's just a definition in the protocol.
6,000 Satoshis is the smallest amount you can transfer.
No, but if you want, the protocol can be increased even further than Satoshi. It's just at the moment an arbitrary number. And if you want to do your own valuation, I mean, I try to value the value of the whole Bitcoins, and you see that Satoshi, 1 Satoshi, if everybody using Bitcoin, it's almost like $1. So it's just an arbitrary.
Then aren't you going full circle back to the limited thing where you're saying it's 100% limited? If you can just keep breaking down Satoshis, then you can just say it's the same as quantitative easy.
No, but it's divisibility. It's like taking gold and divided it into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller part.
An atom of gold, but if you said that like Satoshi is like the atomic form of Bitcoin, you can't get any smaller than that.
Yeah.
Then obviously it's limited. But he said, the smallest you can divide is only 6,000. So
Yeah.
Can you get smaller than that?
You can get smaller than that. According to what I know.
1 Satoshi.
Yeah. I can transfer to you 1 Satoshi if you want.
It'll take you one day.
Maybe it's not economical. Maybe it's not commercial. I don't think that I would like to get deep down into it. I just want to. You can look at this presentation if you want. You can look at those 5 things and think. I mean, ask yourself those questions whenever you think about the currency. Are they limited? Are they fungible? Are they durable? Are they divisible? Are they transferable? And think to yourself, I'm not going to present those because we don't have enough time. I just want to tell you that currency doesn't need to have intrinsic value. It doesn't have to be backed by a government. It doesn't have to be a legal tender. It doesn't have to be accepted as tax. And it doesn't have to be accepted by everyone. These are misconceptions. These are fallacies. We don't have time to get into it. Try to think about it maybe if you want on your own. And I want to tell you that I think, can I have another 2 minutes just to wrap up? What's the time? I don't even know what's the time. Okay, it's not bad. It's not. We're a bit late. We started late. I think it's important because this for me is very exciting. Bitcoin is not about going in East London and buying a cup of tea with Bitcoin. It's not interesting. Okay, this is just it's an anecdote. People talk about it in the BBC because it's interesting, but it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a new currency that can change the way we live. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples. I'm not going to explain them. Think about it. In terms of commerce, you can use microtransactions. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to pay for every time you watch YouTube, right? Because it costs, you don't want to pay a penny. The transaction cost is even higher. But if with Bitcoin you can pay a Satoshi for every time you watch a YouTube, it could change the way we consume media. We don't need to have a lot of commercials, a lot of ads if you use microtransactions. We can bank the unbanking. Tomer is going to Kenya in 2 weeks to meet people that never used the bank. With Bitcoin, you don't have transaction costs. You don't need really a bank, so people can actually have access to capital. You shift the risk, right? You shift the risk between the consumer and the merchant. If I'm a merchant and somebody pays me with Visa, they can call Visa and say, never got the product, and then I'm at risk. I'm losing 5% of all my revenues because I need to pay for chargeback. With Bitcoin, it's not going to happen. Once you pay it, you pay it. It's your problem. Lower transaction costs. We don't need this whole 2% of the global GDP that is going on banking. We can just take it off and do something more useful. I don't know. I don't have any ideas, but maybe you can think about something. Cross-border. Somebody said here that, you said that it's not a cross-border. Imagine you can do remittance. You know that every people that work in the US, they need to send back money to Mexico, or they send money back to Africa, they need to pay 7% of the money in order to pay it for Western Union. You don't need it anymore in Bitcoin. Think about small businesses. Why businesses don't sell things from Kenya to England? Because it's very hard, very expensive to use the money. Decentralized corporation, peer-to-peer lendings. I was just logged on to another peer-to-peer Bitcoin platform from Germany, and I gave money to a carpenter in Estonia. I mean, go check that out. It's called Bitbond. Somebody in Estonia, he wanted to open a carpenter, he didn't have money. He went to a peer-to-peer lending platform. I gave him a Bitcoin for him to help to open a carpenter. So it's quite exciting. And there are other implications that I'm not going to get into now. There are political implications, an implication of living in a deflationary economy. There's one thing I want to tell you when I'm wrapping up. Progress is happening by humans, by the human spirit, by entrepreneurs. Paul is entrepreneur. He's bringing progress. Hakim is entrepreneur. Tomer entrepreneur. Other people here in the room are entrepreneurs. This is progress. You cannot sit and print currency and think that you're going to bring along progress. So therefore, every time you hear that, I don't know what you hear, but progress is coming from people, not from currency. Money is just a concept. Currency is just a tool. And we human, we bring progress. So thank you very much. This is my email. If you have any questions, you want to debate, you want to argue, I love it. Just let me know. I'm also connecting developers, entrepreneurs, investors. So just drop me a line, and I'll love to be in touch. Thank you.